And to be here in the 21st century and not use the innovation and skill and abilities we have to be able to diversify our nation's military speaks to me, some obstructionism that exists within the body itself. Let me just say that if we had the will, there would be a way. There are diamonds in the rough right now within our military that if mentored properly, if cultivated and given the guidance about how one achieves a career path to become an officer, would certainly do so, would see that as a viable option for their growth and their development, and by extension, our ability to diversify and be able to show that we have the capability that reflects the diversity of our nation. I didn't hear that will in the room today, and I didn't certainly see that way. The CBC has brought forth a number of very specific recommendations. It is my hope that the Joint Chiefs will take these recommendations seriously and that we will see a move right now, not waiting for juniors in high school to go through ROTC, but that we will identify those diamonds in the rough. We will make sure that they are mentored through this process as others have previously. We know that there are officers today that if it were not for someone within that military, regardless of race, would not be officers. They were held by the hand by others who had been with them in the military and said, this is the way you go. This is where we'd like to see you. We'd like to see that extended to all members of our U.S. military, including African American men and women. Having said that, I will now extend to my colleague, Hank Johnson, a member of the Armed Forces Committee, to bring his comments at this time.
Thank you, Congresswoman Clark. I'm Hank Johnson. I represent Georgia's 4th Congressional District.
Not talk loud, there's no mic.
All right, thank you. This is Hank Johnson. I represent Georgia's 4th Congressional District. This is my first term on the House Armed Services Committee. I would like to extend great appreciation for my senior on that committee, Congressman Kendrick Meek, who's served for the last 3 terms on that committee and was also instrumental in setting up this meeting that we had this morning with the Joint Chiefs staff. One of the things that is startling is that in the entire history of this country, only 5 4-star generals of African American descent. Out of all of the 4-star generals who have matriculated through the armed services, only 5 4-star generals in the history of this country. There's currently one. I believe it's General Ward, who was just appointed last week as the head of the Africa Command that is newly established. So we're very proud of him and very proud of that accomplishment. But there is a need for us to do better in terms of the numbers of African Americans and the number of women. I think there are a total number of 3 women who have achieved the rank of 4-star general in the history of the country.
Just flag
officers. Only 3 flag officers, which means have reached the rank of 1-star general in the history of this nation. 3 women have achieved that status. And so clearly there's a lot of work to be done. Okay, 3 active officers, I'm sorry, 3 active female flag rank officers currently. The numbers are small, and we certainly can do better. And I think that our meeting today was very fruitful. I believe that the military leadership that was there definitely came away with the understanding that the Congressional Black Caucus, under the leadership of our chairwoman Kilpatrick, is definitely attuned to this issue, and we look forward to working with them on some solutions. And a couple of issues. One is the numbers of young African Americans and young women who are going into the ROTC program, the service academies, the officer training programs. Those are the places where they can be on track to become flag officers. And within those trajectories, if you will. They have to have certain assignments. And so that gets into the whole good old boy network, because you've got to be able to have an assignment given to you by your commander. And if you don't get those assignments, then you will not be considered for promotion. And so there's a whole host of issues that we're going to be looking at, addressing, and coming up with some real solutions. And we have some long-term issues and also some short-term solutions that we would like to see applied. So thank you very much. I'll now turn the podium over to my esteemed colleague from the great state of Texas, Houston, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
Let me thank my distinguished colleague from Georgia and all of my colleagues, and particularly the senior member of the Armed Services Committee, Kendrick Meek, our chairwoman, the Honorable Carolyn Kilpatrick. We have a crisis in the United States military, and what is happening is that young African Americans and Hispanics as well may be missing the opportunity to have heroes in their life. Yes, there are heroes on the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan that happen to be African American and Hispanic, and that's why there is a sense of rage and outrage about the lack of opportunity, seeming opportunity, in the military today. Let me give you those numbers again. 207,000 commissioned officers, 17,000 plus African Americans, which is less than 10%. And then I didn't say 10, I didn't say 15 or 20, one four-star general, one major leading flag officer. As someone would say, when we lost Martin Luther King, where did Martin go? Where did my old friend Martin go? Where did my old friend Bobby go? Where did the heroes that are in the United States military that we have come to know, maybe even the last one being Colin Powell, who himself admitted that he rose up the ladder through affirmative action. And therefore, I indicated that we need to have results from this meeting. And out of some discussions that continued with the military brass, we're going to be looking at, as the Congressional Black Caucus works this issue, as an institutionalized mentoring program. It's well known that it is difficult for the military that has to prove its proudness. I mean, when I say that, individuals have to prove their independence, their leadership skills, to ask to be mentored. So there needs to be an institutionalized mentoring program so that no one has to ask, no one has to pick the mentor, but it is there for them. And then, of course, we have some bars, if you will, some obstacles in terms of recruiting around the nation. The Iraq War is raging. There seems to be no empathy or sympathy for returning Iraqi veterans or Afghanistan veterans. There's no heroes welcome. How do you think that impacts mothers and fathers who are being asked by their 17-year-olds, can I join the United States military? This has got to start from the top. And so I think it is important that the military accepts the assets that the Congressional Black Caucus represent, and ask them to be engaged in affirming the positiveness of going into the United States military. My father-in-law was a Tuskegee Airman. Several of my uncles were in the Army and the Navy. They are World War II warriors, as are many of our friends who have been in the military. But frankly, I think because of the leadership gap, frankly, starting at the White House, giving a very poor image of what would happen to you if you join the United States military, we've had a serious concern. With more than 50% of the domestic budget being utilized for the United States military, it seems a shame that these paltry numbers of African Americans and Hispanics and women are showing up today in 2007. And might I say very conspicuously, in the backdrop of the attack on affirmative action, in the backdrop of Gina 6, in the backdrop of the concerns of equality in this country and the justice system, for young African American males, we have a long journey to make, and of course young women. The U.S. military needs to be front and center. We are not going to accept mediocrity. We're not going to accept less than 100%. We're not going to accept the lack of opportunity for those in the military now.